So I'm here at the beach. I'm in southeast Texas right now. I think all beaches here are public lands, and for the most part you can just camp on any of them. Anyway, we're continuing the Q&A series, so we'll get right into that. If you have any questions for future Q&A episodes, please leave them in the comments below so I can check those out and read them and, talk about some subjects that maybe I wouldn't normally make an entire video about. So today we got Mr. Jack. Jack says, what is your most dangerous encounter or situation? And to talk about trail safety. I'm going to talk about what I truly believe is, the most dangerous situation that I have ever been in, camping, hiking, backpacking, and something that I think is very applicable to literally anyone that is even going out just for a day hike. This is the thing that comes to my mind first when I think of dangerous situations in the outdoors. And that is becoming wet and cold. So we'll start with the story here. I was hiking the Uintah Highline Trail in 2019. It's a 100-mile hike, and you are above 10,000 or 11,000 feet for the entire duration of those 100 miles. It's a very, very cool hike. So I was hiking this trail, and I had done a very brief amount of research, but I think just given the 100-mile distance, I wasn't taking it as seriously as I should have. You never want to have that mindset going into a backpacking trip because things happen. So on this trip, periodically throughout, you can check out the video, it's on this channel, there would be these storms that would just pass through, and I'd be looking at them in the distance like, oh crap, I don't want to be at this next like 12,000 or 13,000 foot peak or pass or whatever it was and have this storm rush through. I remember many times where I waded down in a valley, or I would have to go up and over a pass very, very quickly because of a storm that was coming in. Well, one day I was hiking along, it was seeming like a beautiful day. I think I only had like 25 or 30 miles left of my trip. For whatever reason, I turned around to look behind me, and what I saw was just this massive storm cloud brewing up. It's already starting to rain on me. I'm getting soaked. The rain lasts for like 5-10 minutes as I'm trying to seek some shelter, and then hail. Hail starts coming down. Hail lasts for another like 10 minutes. At this point, I'm huddled up underneath this little tiny tree. And then the hail turns to snow. This was the first snowstorm of the year. I think in all of Utah, this was it. And now I was stuck in it. I was soaking wet because my rain jacket was old. It was a cheap rain jacket. And on this trip specifically, it had gotten a hole in it. So just like all of the things that could go wrong were going wrong. So I was cold, I was wet, and now it was snowing. There was no trees to shelter behind, and I remember being really, really scared. Trying to hike forward as fast as I could to get to a lower elevation to, just try and set up my tarp immediately and try and get under it. All around, it was bad news. And personally, I think that's probably my scariest situation on trail. I've now upgraded the rain jacket and the rain system I use. I now use an Enlighten Equipment Visp instead of a Frog Togs rain jacket because I need something more durable. And the cheap Frog Togs, it may work, but it may also be a huge safety concern. So, a lot of stuff has changed for me after just that one situation. Quick editor's note. Hi, I'm Jupiter's editor. My name is James. Here's some bonus tips, some extra tips for staying safe with potentially cold and wet situations. Always pay attention to weather apps. Constantly be looking at weather apps. I know they're gonna be wrong. They're absolutely going to be wrong, but it's just going to make you more aware of potential situations that you're getting yourself into, and it's going to give you more information. More information with safety is always better instead of just being totally unaware. always do your research on the trail you're hiking, because a lot of these trails are like kind of known for either weird weather that can come and go super fast, or certain sections of trail can be known for weird weather. So again, more information is better. Do your research and pre-plan. Now, if you know you're going to be hiking something, say like the Appalachian Trail or the Vermont Long Trail, consider using synthetic insulations instead of down. Synthetic is going to keep you warmer should those items get wet. When down gets wet, those feathers, that insulation compresses, and it's no longer going to keep you warm if it's compressed. Whereas synthetic insulations, it doesn't compress nearly as much, so it's going to keep you warmer. Now, this next little tip is probably obvious to many of you and something you probably already do, but carry a lighter. A lighter is going to keep you warm once that storm passes. You can make a fire, you can dry off your things, and you can warm yourself up. Even though in the last 2 years, I've hiked over 2,000 miles, and I didn't have a single fire in 2 years of backpacking. Fires just aren't really my thing, but it is an essential safety item. Being cold and wet sucks. It absolutely sucks, and it can be a very dangerous and potentially life-threatening thing. So, we just want to plan and prepare for that. Good to see you guys. Let's get back to the video. That's probably the biggest thing that comes to mind is cold and wet. Now, the other thing that comes to mind, and this is more in line with what many of you may be thinking would be my scariest moments on trail, is human interaction. Being out on trail, I go out there to kind of be alone. So generally, I'm hiking alone, and most of the time, I'm hiking in places I'm not so familiar with. Many of the states I've walked through the mountains, walked through the rural areas. That was the first time I've ever been in those states. So I'm not familiar with the people, not familiar with the area, I'm not familiar with the culture, and, just what things are like there. So people are always a huge question mark. I generally don't really worry about animals because I feel like animals are predictable. Animals probably want your food, so you can predict that and prepare for it. Animals are gonna go to certain areas to look for food, so you can predict that and prepare for that and avoid that. Whereas humans, I don't know where they're gonna pop up most of the time, and I just have to do my best to guess. So, fortunately, I haven't had too many bad experiences with people out in these rural areas or just out in the woods. It's not too much of a thought, but I think mostly that's because I have just these ingrained systems to avoid people in place. So I don't camp near roads, I don't camp near the trail, I always try and hide myself. I don't have a tent or a shelter with anything reflective on it because I don't want someone curious to be shining a flashlight my way and be like, oh, what's that over there that's shining back at me? People are the giant question mark, and I would say that would probably be my second, scariest situation I could get into on trail is, having to deal with an unpredictable human. So I just do my best to avoid it. I don't stay at designated campsites, often choosing to stealth camp instead. I don't stay at shelters because shelters are generally a very well-known thing that people go to. So I'd say those are my two biggest things. Cold and wet, and dealing with humans, dealing with unpredictable people. That's generally why when I'm camping in places like this, I don't exactly share where I'm at until I'm gone. Maybe I'm just antisocial, who knows? I recommend following some of this advice. If nothing else, it's gonna give you some peace of mind. So anyway, that's all for today. Thank you, Jack, for asking that question. I think it's a great one. If you have a question for this Q&A series, please leave it in the comments down below, and I'd love to get to it soon and talk more about some interesting stuff. So anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's check out where I'm camping though. Zoop.